Hello, hello. Thank you for checking in. Great to see everybody. It is Thursday, and so sorry, the genius could not make it today. The genius got stuck in traffic.
Hello.
Genius got stuck in traffic, so you'll have to just settle for me. And if you had stupid questions, I would be happy to try and answer them, but I certainly couldn't give you the completely accurate answers that the genius is able to provide. But I will do my best. So, no, that's a different scarf. Hang on, let me move the screen thing a bit here. Oops. Oh, never mind. Hang on one second. I need to adjust these a little. Hi, Thesis. So, hello. Hope you're all feeling good. And look how light it is outside. Woohoo! Yeah, winter is slowly creeping out. Slowly, very slowly. And yeah, I don't know if any of you guys saw some of the clips from the town hall meetings and stuff they were having in Florida with the students, talking with Marco Rubio and a woman who was a representative from the NRA. But those kids are pretty fierce and awesome, and I was very impressed with how smart and eloquent and well-spoken and thoughtful and composed they were. And less impressed with the adults. But the NRA woman was ridiculous. She and Marco Rubio, though at least he showed up to have the good thing I can say about him is that he actually showed up. Most of these representatives are too afraid to show up and face the people that they know are not going to be happy. A lot of representatives are like running away from the people they're supposed to be working for, and certainly wouldn't be putting themselves in this vulnerable position of facing very angry people with a very touchy situation. So at least I have to give him kudos for showing up and speaking. David Jones says the NRA lady is a published author. Well, what's that supposed to mean? So there's lots of people that are published authors. That certainly doesn't make them, doesn't say anything. Oh, okay, great, Thesis. Thesis is getting a new computer. That'll be good. I hope you like your new computer. She said some offensive things about about mass shootings are good for the media and all this stuff. And like, why would you say that? Why would you say something like that? David Jones says she's probably smarter than the high school students. Well, she should be. They're high school students. I should hope so. All of the adults should be, in theory, smarter than the high school students. However, I was more impressed with them. And you know what? There's these right-wing troll groups, and they did it after all those little kids were murdered in the school shooting in Newton, and all these trolls started saying nasty things about these conspiracy trolls and stuff, saying nasty things about the parents and the kids that it never happened. They were actors. They were false flags, and that their children were never killed, or their children didn't even exist, and writing these horrible things to these parents whose children had just been murdered. And now, again, whenever there's something, there's these same trolls and conspiracy website right-wing weirdos are putting all these crazy conspiracy things about these kids, saying they're not really students, they're actors, they're blah, blah, blah. And like, no, they're just, it's really disgusting when somebody survived a tragedy and then they're getting death threats and all this harassing messages. These parents were getting in Newtown? I should remember that. Newtown, Connecticut, with the little kids. They were getting death threats and all these horrible messages. And now these kids that are speaking out, they're getting the same treatment from these same types of people and groups. It's kind of disgusting. Hi, Blair Cooper. Hi, Dantuine. So yeah, and then there's the other people trying to float this ridiculous idea of arming teachers. That teachers should all be strapped and ready to fire upon their students or former students or whoever comes in. Teachers, that's a really bad idea. And teachers and school administrators pretty much unanimously say that's a really bad idea. Because A, you're bringing more guns into school. B, teachers can be overpowered by somebody, and that somebody can then take the gun and use it, and the gun's already there. They don't even... And secondly, people who are we have law enforcement for that. The people that have trained to be police officers and law enforcement people and people who are trained to deal with those situations, it's completely different kind of personality than people who are teachers, which is usually like a caring, more nurturing personality, not somebody who's going to want to shoot somebody in their classroom or even have a gun. I mean, this is ridiculous. And so, yeah, now on top of all the things teachers are supposed to do, they're now, yeah, that's a really bad idea. David Jones, really. David Jones, are you related to Alex Jones? I get that feeling sometimes. Paid actors. Sturgis guy says bump stocks don't work and they're bad for aiming. Yeah, well, Blair Cooper says that the NRA lady is right. School shootings get a lot of publicity. That's true. Anything horrible gets a lot of publicity and time in the media, but media doesn't love them. Nobody loves them. I mean, we saw journalists, crying when we talking about this. Nobody wants to report this, and they don't want this. positive that every single media company out there would prefer if they didn't have them. She was, the way she said that, it was like acting like it was like a bonus. So anyhow, so yeah, guns in school is a really bad idea. And anyhow, there's so many things going on right now. It makes me crazy. I don't think I can. It's hard to narrow down what to talk about because there's so many crazy things going on. In case you missed it, because it was overshadowed by all the talk about all the guns and the shooting, Mueller, the special investigator Mueller, brought a whole bunch of new charges against Paul Manafort and his partner Rick Gates. Sealed charges, I believe. No, they weren't sealed. They are some sealed, and then there's some that aren't sealed. Indictments, a bunch of sealed charges, and then indictments for money laundering of like millions of dollars of money laundering and bank fraud and a whole bunch of stuff. These guys for, yes. Blair Cooper says, why not arm teachers? Blair Cooper, I guess you should probably talk to some teachers. But teachers pretty much across the board do not, and teachers and school administrators do not, and parents of children in that school, most of them do not want to be armed or carry a gun or have that as part of their job requirements. Not something they're trained to do or have the personality to do. I read one teacher was quoted as saying that oftentimes these school shooters, that when it's a student, it's somebody who's a student or a former student, and they probably wouldn't be able, even if they had the gun, they probably wouldn't be able to shoot that person because they don't have that particular makeup or personality to shoot somebody. And Blair Cooper, teachers can be overpowered. Think of all the teachers you've ever had. Most of them, a lot of them are smaller, wimpier women, older people, probably easily overpowered. And then what? Then you've got a crazy student, and the gun student doesn't even have to go try and get the guns. Guns already in school. All you have to do is overpower your teacher. Blair Cooper says he can give you 6 reasons not to arm teachers. Don Tween says, my sisters are all teachers, and they do not like the idea of having to be vigilantes. Yeah. Blair Cooper says, my mom, who was a teacher, she was a teacher, not Billy the Kid. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And not only that, but here we have also David Jones brings up another point. This school actually did have an armed officer outside of the school, an armed safety officer. I don't know. I guess, would that be like a paid guard? I don't know if he was an actual cop or just like a paid private security guard that the school had, but it's somebody who had a gun and was trained and was hired to be school security. Oh, David Jones says he was a sheriff's deputy. Okay, when this guy heard that there was an active shooter. Okay, so we did have a person, a good guy with a gun at the school at the time of the active shooter. The guy didn't go inside. I think he's been fired since then, but he didn't go inside. He stayed outside and waited for backup. David Jones says he's quit. Oh, it's a little chilly, Jesus. So yeah, so even that argument that an armed good guy can, even that argument falls apart, because even a trained guy doesn't necessarily rush into hearing shootings. Most people are gonna like take cover, or maybe that shooting officer, instead of running in, was trying to direct people to safely outside. I'm not sure what was going on. It's so and it's easy to like be the backseat driver, or whatever, and look at this stuff after it's happened and make all these judgments about what went wrong, what should have happened, what didn't happen, who dropped the ball where and what. But that's coulda, woulda, shoulda. We've been doing this coulda, woulda, shoulda for a really long time. The first basic thing that should have been happening is, some logical rules for gun restrictions, some logical restrictions. Not that you can't have a gun, but like many gun owners will say, don't hunt with an AK-47. It's not a hunting gun. That's a people killing gun. So we should have some logical rules about these things. And people have been saying this for years, and they keep going, yes, 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 yes. And then the NRA goes, no way, because hi, wing doggy. And so, yeah. I mean, think about it. When we had one time some crazy shoe bomber guy got on an airplane and tried to light a bomb in his shoe, we immediately, across the board, all across the whole United States, now, since then, and all these years later, still have to take your shoes off at the airport. Okay, that's one thing that we immediately made rules for. Now, all these years, 20 years, like since Columbine, shooting after shooting after shooting, school shooting, and still we haven't made any like sensible rules about gun restrictions. If the kid had walked in with a sneaker bomb, and we would be making rules about taking your shoes off to get into the school. David Jones says he has pre-check, which allows him to keep his shoes on. Well, aren't you special, David Jones? Sturgis Guy says, give me a Remington 870 shotgun and I'll teach those shooters a thing or two. Lear Cooper says, what do you think about our veterans serving in school? I'm not so, if they get a job in law enforcement, but just, I know that there's plenty of veterans who have post-traumatic stress and all kinds of different kinds of battle fatigue issues and a lot of stuff to deal with when they come back. And a good many of them may not be the best people to be carrying weapons. It's hard for a lot of people to go to switch from what they used to be, you know, in this high stress, dangerous, gun-toting environment, and then come back to everyday normal life. And that might be a challenge for some of those people to have to then in their regular day in life. Blair Cooper says he wants to do a show with me. Wing Doggy says ever since then he still doesn't wear tennis shoes. Hi, Wing Doggy. Yeah. So anyhow, so that's that. I bet you wish the genius was here to answer some stupid questions. Instead, you've got me. So, yeah. But I mean, this is all common sense. And, you know, I think I've seen polls that say like 85% to 90% of Americans agree with most of what I'm saying. And most Americans are saying, let's have sensible, logical things, you know, convicted felons, people with mental illness, maybe a logical age restriction, like can't drink until you're 21. Maybe you can't buy a weapon until you're 21. You know, or certain guns would be restricted from sales or severely restricted. Like you'd have to, in Israel, Israel has very strict gun regulations. And this is a country that has a lot more kind of dangerous stuff going on as far as like Israel and Palestine and all that stuff that's been going on forever. But they have a very rigorous gun registration. You've got to get in order to get a gun, you have to prove that you're in the position where you're in some sort of danger. You have to pass. You have to be tested on gun operation. You have to have a doctor's note. A whole bunch of different things. There's a whole bunch of different steps, similar to like, you know, when you drive a car, you got to take tests, and not only that, but Israel also like has mandatory military service for everyone in the country. So first of all, so that means the entire population is already trained in gun usage. But then further than that, if they actually want to own a gun and carry a gun, they still have to go through a registration process. And that doesn't seem like such a bad thing. Because, yeah, and just because you can say, well, if somebody really wants to get a gun, they'll get a gun. Yeah, of course they can, of course. That's true, but that doesn't mean we have to make it easier from them. The same way, I said it before, the same way we lock our doors in our houses or our cars. If somebody really wants to break in to your house or steal your car, they'll find a way. But that doesn't mean we have to put the welcome mat down and leave your doors open and just be like, oh, well, you know, we still take precautions to, you know, lock the doors, don't leave stuff out that's going to make people want to break your window, stuff like that. Still, because you don't want to make it easier. And most people, if there's a little bit of a difficulty in getting to what they want, they probably won't do it because there's a basic laziness. So having a few like logical hurdles to and registration requirements would help, be very helpful. Exactly, David Jones. That's so true. So true. All right. So, oh my goodness, it's already 5:47. So, all right. I am just about to sign off, but I will be back tomorrow for Funny Friday. Hopefully Funny Friday. So, I want to thank you guys for coming to see me because you're awesome. I will be back tomorrow. All right. Kisses for everybody. Thank you for checking in. Bye, Blair Cooper. Bye. Bye. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Bye, Blair Cooper. Bye, Tesis. Bye, everybody on YouTube.